Hello, welcome to the latest episode of Data Unchained. I'm your host, Molly Presley. This is our Supercomputing 25 edition. As you can see, we're broadcasting from the trade show floor. Lots to talk about this week, both on performance, on data growth, data management, data storage. And I'm excited to introduce one of Hammerspace's newest customers and a real great thought leader in this space from the university space. So, Hunter, welcome to the show.
Thank you. My name is Hunter Hagewood, and I am Executive Director at ACCRE at Vanderbilt University. ACCRE is the shared resource computing center for scientific research on campus. We've been around for about 25 years, have a phenomenal staff, and now we get to deploy even better services in partnership with Hammerspace.
So, kind of backtrack maybe a year or so ago, I think when we first met you, kind of what were some of the challenges you were looking to address with your infrastructure and kind of your overall architecture strategies?
Sure. Because of some of our restrictions in our governance and financing, we've always been shopping for solutions and products that can grow incrementally. And so purchasing large storage appliance-based solutions, either for storage or compute or for networking, has always been off the table for us. And so we go out and look for ways that we can support our mission of being able to grow the environment and our capacity in a modular way. And the reason that ends up being important is that we support our faculty through basic HPC services, and we do a chargeback model. And for faculty that don't have large demands, either in compute or storage, they can rent that capacity, and that's not complicated for their budget. But as soon as you get into the 250 terabyte range or 500 terabyte range, the cost of traditional services becomes really heavy for them. Okay. And so we wanted to find ways of offering capacity at a better price point, and essentially a bulk offering for our big tenants. And that's where we were, even more than a year ago. We were looking at, is there a way out of the situation that we can move all of our platforms into a modular growth, including storage, which was the most difficult to do so.
So what made storage difficult?
We use a co-op model for capacity planning at Vanderbilt. And so the institution finances about a third of the cluster operations, and the faculty through chargebacks finance the other. And the faculty will go out and they'll buy 4 compute nodes, or they'll buy a couple of GPUs and they'll add that to the ecosystem, and then that gets shared. Well, no faculty has deep enough pockets to go out and buy a high-performance parallel file system storage appliance. And so the institution's on the hook for that. And then when we get to a capacity limit, we have to go back to the institution and negotiate funding for expansions. And that sometimes works out really well, and sometimes it can go south really fast. And so this year, we came to a breaking point where we asked for an expansion, and it took so long to do the procurement, we ran out of storage capacity before the new storage arrived.
Uh-oh, so now people are complaining.
So people got very, very hot, and they obviously first directed that at us, and I explained that we had already put in the request, and they could go talk to the administration. And now we have a lot of attention on the storage needs for the research computing, which was also one of the things that helped drive us towards getting the Hammerspace project approved.
Okay. So yeah, that's definitely different than some of the big supercomputer guys who get a big grant and big budget and build a whole bunch of everything new. You're kind of incrementally adding over time, it sounds like, bit by bit.
And, you know, from a resource usage perspective, that's always worked really well. And so we don't have to build for over provisioning. We build as the capacity gets ramped up. And so our cluster has a very high utilization rate, which is excellent. Our GPU is the same. Same thing with the storage. It's the timing for operationalizing those things that can catch up to you.
Okay, so you've selected Hammerspace to help fill some of these gaps. What is different now? Like, what is your operating model with Hammerspace in the mix? Then how does it kind of alleviate those pain points?
With the Hammerspace, we have a storage platform called LStore. It's our largest and most advanced storage platform. It's currently at about 35 petabytes in capacity. And it works absolutely wonderfully for about 80% of the workloads that we run on that are run on the cluster. But for the really difficult edge cases, it'll work, but the performance is not ideal.
Okay.
And so how do we solve for that 20% that we currently can't handle? Because if we can't address that, then we can't adopt the LStore platform as the main storage for everybody generally. When we ran across the Hammerspace product, that looked very promising, and then we had an excellent engagement with the engineering team. And like I said, we deployed that in the early summer, went through 2 months of testing, found one issue in terms of resiliency between the two systems, the Hammerspace and LStore. Our staff addressed that issue on the LStore side, and the testing cleared. And so now we're in the process of deploying that and offering that out, which was also timely because we have researchers I have a researcher with 2.4 petabytes that he needs to migrate into the cluster environment, and we didn't have capacity. And until we had Hammerspace, we didn't have a way for him to buy in at a price point that he could actually sustain given his research grants.
Lots of constrained problems going on here.
Yeah. It was definitely a convergence of a lot of different factors that ultimately just helped impress on the administration and the people that we work with that having a flexible growth model for storage capacity that can also cover the whole gamut of the workloads is extremely important.
So I see now that why you're interested in the concept of our Tier 0 technology. It makes sense to me having, listened to some of your challenges. I know you're not using it yet, but what is your thought around using Tier 0 potentially in your offering in the future?
Our test cases that we used over the summer include our Center for Structural Biology, which are by far the most demanding GPU users that we have on campus. And so they had a customized workflow that required them to stage their data on the local storage on the GPUs to then get processed. And so they were having to do this manually in all of their workflows and all of their scripts.
Hey.
And so we had them test out the Hammerspace with the LStore, and they realized that they would not have to explicitly manage that anymore because Hammerspace was just going to take care of that using the Tier 0 option. So they were super excited at being able to simplify their workflow, reduce their amount of time anticipating data management needs, and let the system take over and do that for them.
That's pretty fascinating. So they get their performance, they have already invested in, have the NVMe sitting there. It's just a way to automate the process instead of keeping it kind of manual and asynchronous.
Right, and in their situation, they had paid for the NVMe's that were on their GPUs, and it's a shared environment. And so they said, okay, we'll let other users use the GPUs, but don't let anybody write to our NVMe's.
Interesting.
Because it's so critical for their data path. And now with in migrating to the Hammerspace solution, they have explicit control over that, and it makes it more widely available for the other users as well.
Gotcha. So kind of as we wrap up, I wanted to ask you a little bit about that 20% of the performance use cases that weren't being addressed with LStore. Did you do a lot of performance testing over the summer?
We did. And so especially the medical imaging groups, we have, because of the medical center, we have lots of groups that have crazy amounts of medical imaging files. and many of them are the slices from the MRI, and so they have millions and millions and millions of tiny files, and they want to train models on these things. And feeding the GPU nodes with that type of file profile was just not possible with the LStore, and it was already difficult with the other parallel file system that we were using. And so that's become a non-issue.
Okay.
It's just a non-issue. And one of the other great aspects about this was from the financial perspective, by pivoting away from a appliance-based storage strategy to a modular one, we're going to be able to save close to $2 million in spend over the next 4 years.
Wow.
And so we get the flexibility, we get the performance, and we get to pocket a lot of cash that we can apply to other areas.
That's excellent. Well, it's a great case study and creative solution as well, it sounds like, that you've put together. Hunter, I appreciate you coming on the show. I know a lot of the research facilities like to talk to each other about what everyone's doing, so I'm sure folks are going to be listening to the show and may reach out to you if that's okay with you.
That would be fantastic. We would love to be able to replicate our success in other people's environments so they can enjoy the same benefits.
Beautiful. Thanks for joining the show, and have a great time at Supercomputing this year.
Thank you, Molly. I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to Data Unchained, powered by Hammerspace. To learn more, visit hammerspace.com. If you have a guest you would like to hear on the show, email me at molly@hammerspace.com.